Jess, today we get to talk about audience. What does that even mean? Audience is step 3 in our 7-step series. So if you're just catching up to us and you are coming in, know that this is step 3 out of 7. If you haven't listened to 1 and 2, stop me right now and go listen to 1 and 2 so you can get caught up. So Jess, it is time to help them understand this step as it relates to audience, because so many times we see this. Once they get into this lane of coaching, it is, I'm going to go tell the world that I'm a coach. And you know what, guys? You know me. I love you and respect you, but I'm going to give it to you straight. The world doesn't care that you're a coach. The world does not care right now that you are a coach. So before we dive into the solution behind that, Jess, I want to go a little bit back to math, because one of the things that math and audience have is they go hand in hand, right? So share with us how they go hand in hand.
Yes. So remember, we're talking about understanding the math and the audience in transitioning from a one-to-one business to a one-to-many business.
Right.
And so we talked, we gave examples about like if you have 10 clients and top grading them and paying your bills and all of that in the last episode. And I started to allude to it, and then we didn't finish that conversation around the Pareto principle math.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I really wanted to start the conversation as it relates to audience today.
Yep. Okay.
And so the Pareto principle is the 80-20 rule, which if you've read self-help, time management, something like that related books, it's probably come up somewhere at some point in time. And so Pareto's principle, the concept is the top 20% of your results, your activities, your audience is going to yield 80% of the results that you're seeking. And so that's why we always talk about the words like top grading and things like that. And I love the idea of understanding 20% fractionally as part of a whole as well, because that's going to help when you have to understand how many people you need to connect with to grow your group to the financial or numerical size that you're seeking to grow to. Because if you're talking to 100 people, roughly 20% of those are going to say yes. Right? So in that, and y'all, I used to teach math, so my brain thinks of percents as fractions as decimals because they're all technically the same thing.
Don't do that. You're gonna confuse me.
No.
I have
All I'm
PTSD
saying
from the word fractions.
I know, and that's why I'm saying. But here's the thing: 20% of a whole is 1/5, or you need 5 of something to make the whole, right? So that's, if you hear me say 20%, or if I say times 5 or anything like that, they're all the same thing. And so that's why I wanted to preface it before we got into it. And before Adam derailed me with saying he has PTSD from fractions.
Dude, that's just too much for my brain sometimes. The 5 and the 6.
But
and the
Adam,
10
here's the simple version of it. Let's say you
What?
want to put...
Wait, but don't give me a math educate. I don't need math schooling right now.
No. It's so easy. Hold on. Just give me like 2 seconds for an example. Okay, so let's say that you want to have what's a number you want in your group, Adam? We'll do the math off yours. Give me a multiple of 5.
Let's go 100.
100 people in your group. Great. You want 100 people in your group. Well, we know that if only 20% of the people you talk to are going to say yes to the group, then you're going to need to multiply the number that you want your group to be by 5. And that tells you how many whole conversations you have to get 100 people to say yes.
Yep.
So if you want 100 people in your group, if you multiply that by 5, that's going to tell you that you need to talk to 500 people.
That's right.
So that's all I wanted to say here for Pareto principle in terms of audience, to make things easy. If you want to start your group with 20 people, multiply that by 5, right? You're going to have to talk to 100. If you want to start your group with 5 people, multiply that by 5, you're going to talk to 25 people. And the only reason I think this is so important is I see people try to build a one-to-many group, and they immediately think they have to have a full-blown website, a full-blown email, a podcast, a blog, and paid ads all at the same time to get the 100 people they want in their group or the 20 people they want in their group.
Mhm.
And so the whole reason we're starting here is to help you understand mathematically, you don't need to spend a ton of money and build a ton of things. You just need to get in front of 5 times the number of people you want that
Mhm.
are your ideal avatar.
Yep. Love it. Okay. Thank you, teacher. Actually, Jess has a new nickname, you guys. It's the professor. She's going to be known as the professor going forward. We might have to change the name of this podcast to Adam and the Professor. That could be really fun. Okay,
I
but
was going to say, is that because I Love Coaching is going to pay for my doctorate so I can actually be like Dr. Jess?
I'm not paying for any certifications for anybody because I don't believe in them. But that's a whole
You're
nother
no
podcast.
fun. No,
Okay.
I
So
just always wanted the doctorate so that I could be a doctor instead of a Miss or Mrs. That was it.
listen, you can have a PhD, anything you want. I'll give it to you. That's fine. You've got the PhD in this blueprint.
Yeah,
Okay, very
I was like, I'll go get a PhD in underwater basket weaving. It wasn't about the
so
content. It
so
was
to,
that I didn't
to
want to be
take
a Miss.
Jess's PhD language there, you all. I'm going to go back to my 5th grade elementary education, and if I need 100 people, I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to divide that by 20%. I'm going to get 500. Right? That's how I do that math, and that works. Period. Also, right now,
Yes.
Jess, let's take this to that next step because we had payoff, we had math,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have audience.
Yeah.
Now, let's take the word audience, you guys, and I want to break that down even smaller. Audience does not mean everybody in this series. Audience means warm. Okay, well, what does warm mean? I'm going to break warm down into very simply when you look at the eyes that see you, when you see names in your database or your phone number, there should be broken up into 4 different ways. Unknown, don't know who they are. Known, okay, maybe I know them or maybe they know me somehow, some way, some shape or form. Like, ooh, they have engaged with me somehow. I have engaged with them. Trust, they're spending money with me. We are talking about an audience that is kind of in that middle of like and known. Not
Okay.
unknown. We're not talking about unknowns. So when you look at your Instagram, when you look at your Facebook, when you look at your database, and we're talking about an audience, remove the unknown because that's not what we're talking about.
Well, that also goes back to the whole you don't have to build a massive empire to reach, even if you're going for 500 people.
Right.
And remember, it's not just 500 Joe Schmoes.
Mm-mm.
It is 500 of your ideal avatar
That's
who
right.
is looking for the payoff that you've created.
That's right.
And so
And
that's
just
the other thing is trying to build this massive media, empire is not going to guarantee that you're in front of the 5x number that you're seeking.
and watch this. This is so fascinating because we see this all the time. Okay, great, Adam, Jess. I did the 5th grade elementary education math of Adam or the PhD level of math of Jess.
I
And
taught that to 4th graders, right? So I think you just needed a better elementary teacher, but that's okay. That's a whole nother
I
podcast.
don't know who my 4th grade teacher was, but nevertheless. And here's what they do though, Jess, is they'll say, wow, my math has mathed. And I'm looking at my Instagram account and I have 2,000 followers. And Jess and Adam said that I only need 500 if I want 100. To Jess's point, are those 2,000 followers your avatar?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't even know you, listener. I'm going to tell you right now that they're not. Those 2,000 people that are your followers, those 5,000 people that are your followers, they are probably not your avatar. They're the friends, the family, and the fools that follow you, right? That's what I used to say in the real estate days. That's who's in your database, your friends, your family, and your fools, right? And this is what happens, Jess, is when coaches step into the coaching space and they get to this process part of audience, they start selling on their social media.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come back to us and they'll say, well, you said I needed a 20% and the 20% of my 100 is 500. Well, I've got 5,000 followers. that doesn't mean they're all the right avatar. And so when you start to
Exactly.
sell, and you're probably selling in your reels, which is wrong to begin with. When you start to sell, the people who watch your stuff, remember, it's less than what, Jess? 20% of the followers actually watch your stuff anyway or see
On a
your stuff.
good day, 18%.
Yeah. Those are not your avatars, which is
Mhm.
why you don't get the bought engagement. Okay.
Mhm.
So I want everyone to hear that is when we are talking about audience, I'm not talking about your vanity number. I'm talking about the people who are the warm avatars that like and know you, that are specifically in this lane of what your solution, your payoff is, and that they need. Right? That's what we're talking
Mhm.
about, Jess.
Well, and I don't want anybody to be scared by this number of 500 or something like that when
Mhm,
we do narrow it down to 500 of your avatar, because what it means is that you just need to be in rooms with them.
mhm.
You need to be in
That's right.
proximity to them.
That's right.
And so it is not going out and finding people on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever and trying to cold DM them. You're not
Mhm.
door knocking for 500 relationships to try to
Mm-mm.
close 100, but it's being intentional with where you plant your feet and where you show up in your present and where
Mhm.
you provide value. And that naturally leads to opportunity.
Mhm.
So, a great example of this is, we love growing I Love Coaching with the right people.
Mhm.
And we've paid for coaching on social media before. We've paid for coaching on email growth. We've paid for lots of coaching before.
Mhm.
But our best connections and our best community growth comes from when Adam and I show up in a networking or at an event situation
Mhm.
and connect not with everybody in the room, with coaches in the room.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah, we just did that in Dallas, and it's interesting when you understand the language around your payoff, when you understand your again, you would see this if you had gone through the blueprint, your stadium pitch of sorts, your own macro micro problem solution cycle. When you understand that, I help fill in the blank. You will attract who you're supposed to attract, and you will detract who you're supposed to detract. When we went into this room, Jess, in Texas with, I don't know how many people were there, 100 plus?
I think there are about 100 registered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100 registered. There was probably about a dozen and a half of those people who were our avatars. And we
Wait, a dozen and a half of 100 is 18. That means it's roughly 20% of the room was our ideal
What
avatar,
trade
Adam.
math works. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. And you can talk to these people. Now, and guys, here's I want to give such a simple little example of how this works. I was in the food line, Jess. I don't know if I shared this whole story with you. I was in the food line at the event, which, by the way, Alan, if you're listening to this, I was not good at this. I mean, they put so much salt on their food at these events. Oh, it drives me insane.
Well, they put onion on everything, so I had to go down to the cafe and buy,
So
like,
bad.
Lunchables,
I
like
could
the
barely get my ring off my
Hellshire adult
finger.
Lunchables, because I can't eat onion.
And I struck up a conversation with a man, and he was a pastor. And then I said, "Fantastic. What hobbies do you do?" Here it comes. Or what are your hobbies? And he said, "I'm a coach." I was like, "Oh, really? In what industry or vertical do you coach?" And he says, "I coach cabinet makers. I coach cabinetry people." And I thought, "Well, tell me more," right? And so we engage in this conversation, and we exchange numbers, right? And I said, "I help," and I filled in the blank of what I Love Coaching does. And it was just fascinating because this is what happens, and this is how you go to these events in the one-to-many approach that Jess was just talking about, and you build your warm audience. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So let's keep going with this, Jess. If they realize that, okay, they are bought in now to our math, Jess.
Yeah.
They understand the 80-20 principle. They understand that maybe not everyone that's following them or in their email list or in their phone is their avatar. They understand that they can go to events and start to engage with people who are their avatars. What's the next step? What do you feel that they should do next to identify and then maybe even organize their avatars, the warm audience?
Well, I think I think they need to know how many they actually have.
Okay. Good.
And so because you're not gonna get the desired outcome if you don't have the data or the results to get it.
Mhm.
And so that is where, Adam is the king of pipelines, the king of recruiting. In the real estate space, we would go straight into CRM, a client relationship management tool, right?
Mhm. Yep.
You don't even need one of those right
No.
now. If you're trying, let's say you're trying to get 20 in a group, you don't need us to spend money on a CRM to talk to 100 people.
Mhm.
You have your phone, you can make a spreadsheet. I mean,
Mhm.
y'all, with AI especially, it is so easy these days to make an organized pipeline
Mhm.
spreadsheet of some kind where you're sitting there and saying, who are they? What's their contact info? When's the last time I talked to them? And relevant notes.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. And if you are intentional about one, communicating with the people on the list, and two, adding to the list until you hit your desired number, you're golden.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah. And that's the key there is we have in the version 8 blueprint this. It goes like this. I have a list, and there's a blank. Warm names to start outreach. Know that number. I have a list of how many, because this is going to now help you in your time blocking space. Because if we go back to the math and we say, okay, fine, I want 100 people in my group, and I know I need 500, and I've only got 250. Well, we can do the math of how much that 250 will produce, and it's not going to be the desired outcome that you want. So therefore, you've got to go start to build. Well,
Mhm.
how do we build, Adam? Well, guess what? That's in another podcast, and we're not going to tell you right now. Okay. So,
Well, yes, it is.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I mean, we've already kind of mentioned it. You need to be in proximity. I mean,
right.
that's the short version of it is it's not about always one-to-one, connection. It's how do you get into spaces where that group is and how do you provide value to them?
Mhm,
And so you're not going to know how much time, like you said, time blocking or energy you're going to need to invest
mhm,
to be in proximity to those people until you know how many you have and how many you're lacking.
mhm. Here's what I want to say though, and I've seen this more than once. I've seen this quite a few times. You don't realize how many of your avatars are right under your nose because you've actually never stepped into this in an intentional way to say, oh, here's who my avatar is. Oh, here's how many I have. And here's how many more I need to go get. Let me go through my followers. Let me go through my phone. Let me go through my wherever your data is held. And then you get to start to identify them even more. And maybe you haven't talked to Bob Smith in 5 years.
Mhm.
Guess what? It's a simple text message that says, oh my gosh, this is the longest follow up ever. Smiley face emoji. What's good in your world? Whatever you want to say, right?
I was cleaning up my contacts, saw your name, thought of you, wanted to say hey.
That's right.
Like, y'all,
Super simple.
everybody makes this concept of connecting with multiple people difficult.
Mhm.
And like, I tease Adam about being the connector or the recruiter because that is truly his nature. I mean, we used to call him the hunter, even. Like, he
Mhm.
loves going out and talking to people. That is the
Mhm.
complete opposite of me, the
Mhm.
professor, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
no, let me sit with my books. I mean, if
Mhm.
you're watching YouTube, you can see, let me sit with my books.
Mhm.
I will gladly share information with people, but I am not going to go be an evangelist on the street for the book I'm reading or writing.
Mhm.
And so, but I can sit there and go through my phone and every contact or go through my list and reach out and say hi
Mhm.
comfortably
Mhm.
because it's not about every person. It's about enough of the right people.
I'm gonna give you something. This is really funny and true. So, speaking of just this outreach, right? Now, this is again another podcast. So, I'm going to give you just a little teaser in it because the next podcast is actually about channels, and then we go into what's called connecting. But that's a whole nother story. But I want to give this as it relates to reaching out to warm that you haven't talked to in a while. So, I hadn't talked to this individual in 6 months. It's not that long, but sure, it can be a long time. And I said, good morning. Insert the name. This might be the longest follow-up in history. Smiley face. Last time we talked, we were kicking around the idea of you coaching. True story. It's got me curious. Did that ever turn out to anything? Adam. I didn't have to put my name, but I chose to, just in case they forgot who I was. Hey, Adam! Exclamation point. Oh, and then I said, by the way, it's really me, not a mass text with a hand waving, right? Which is true. That was not a mass text. Hey, Adam, I'm a little skeptical about this not being a mass text, but that's okay. Great to hear from you. Your follow-up game is amazing. So I shot her a video text and said, look, it's really me. Tell me what's good in your world. And then we had a great conversation. Then ironically, she sent me the longest text message this morning saying, I am so glad you reached out. Let's see here. Let's see here. Curious if you could share with me what you have coming up around that time frame. And that was in our coaching space, right? So you guys, this is not hard to do. If you know that your number is not the number you need, you got to go out and get into what we call a contact sport. That is a contact sport. If you are not acting as if you have to be in a contact sport to build your audience, you're going to die a slow and painful death. Well, maybe not that drastic.
This is a
but
perfect
it'll be a hard uphill battle.
You're going to leave them in pain because the
Yes.
next episode is about how to connect or how to play the contact sport in a way that authentically aligns with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I want to bring this up here before we wait till the next episode, is because you and I are completely different humans.
Mm-hmm.
We play contact sports differently.
Yep.
And yet we both have built successful businesses in the same space. I mean, our avatar is different. Our coaching is different, all of that, but we both coached and built 6-figure businesses, 7-figure businesses in coaching through contact sports. And I don't do what Adam does. And
Very
so
true.
if you're listening to this conversation about audience and you're overwhelmed by it, please do not be, and understand that there is a way to do it authentically that aligns with who you are and how you already show up in the world. And that's going to be the premise of the next podcast.
Yep, that's right. And I can't wait to share that one because again, there's so many different ways to skin the cat here. And you all, this is not hard. It's just
So you're telling them that you'd rather teach them to skin a cat than throw spaghetti at walls.
Correct. Yes. Because both can be probably really messy, even though I've never skinned a cat. I have thrown spaghetti at walls, yes.
Yes.
That was probably my 6th grade year, right? In elementary. Yeah, no kidding. So just let's leave them with this simple little message that if you've listened to podcasts in this series of 7, the first one, you understand that you've got to have clarity in your payoff, right? You've got to have clarity in what are you solving for a specific avatar. Secondly, you've got to understand your math. And again, we're referring to the math as it relates to you going from a one-to-one to a one-to-many approach. And now when you have that clarity in the math game and you bring Pareto principle into this, now you can understand the audience size that you need to have specifically around the avatar that is desiring your payoff. And now you can get to work. Because now you can actually say, oh, I know what to put into my time block because Adam and Jess said I have to go build my audience so that I can hit the desired math number that I want. Jess, how was that for summary?
That was perfect.
Excellent. Land the plane.
And it wasn't ending on a downer. So,
No,
I mean, because we're y'all, we hope that this was valuable and relieved a little bit of pressure if you're somebody who's in this process right now of going from one to many. If you're not in that space, or whether you are, we are always running challenges. We've got our free Get Paid to Coach guide. All of the details of what Adam and I have built to serve our audience are on ilovecoachingco.com. So head over there and feel free to check it out or reach out to us if we can ever answer questions for you.
That's right. Yep. Okay, perfect. Y'all have a great day. We will see you next time. See you. Bye.
Bye.